Hello, denizens of the internet. It is I, Martyr. It is 10:35 at night. I have had about 2.5 glasses of wine. Working on that half. And I am here to show you how to make poutine. So, this was at request of one of my Discord mates who also joins my stream a lot, Darklight. Thank you so much, Darklight, for being such an awesome person. I appreciate you hanging out. So, poutine. Poutine is a French-Canadian dish that consists of fries, cheese curds, and gravy. And so I've done a lot of the prep work already ahead of time because you don't need to see me doing that. Mise en place is what that is called, by the way. When you just kind of get all your shit in place. Mise en place, in its place, I think is what it translates to in French. Something like that. So, today, primarily what I'm here to show you is the gravy, because that is like the biggest component. I'm just using frozen French fries because I'm lazy. I'm super fucking lazy about this. So I'm just using frozen French fries. Actually, right now, my phone, which is recording this, is on top of my air fryer, which is currently making those fries. So we're going to see how well that goes. Fingers crossed. Everything goes well. So, fries are going. Cheese curds I have right here. They were just out of frame. We have the Ellsworth's Cooperative Creamery. I just got them at Sprouts. You can get cheese curds. Hopefully they are around you. Again, got them at Sprouts. You can find them at usually kind of a farmer's market type place. If you can't find cheese curds, mozzarella works as well. I'd get fresh mozzarella, cut it into large chunks, kind of abnormal size, so that way you can kind of mimic what cheese curds do. For those of you who haven't seen cheese curds before, let's get this in frame. For those of you who haven't seen cheese curds before, they're really like abnormally shaped. So like there's like this huge, like some huge ones, some smaller ones, like they're really abnormally shaped. So cutting mozzarella up into smaller size pieces would definitely be a good idea, or into different size pieces. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the gravy. And so I've already done some stuff with some bacon. Crispy, delicious bacon. So we have all of this delicious bacon fat to use. So we're going to be using that as the beginning of our gravy. So gravies start with a roux, which is fat and flour. And so you usually want to use about equal parts of each and each. And so I'm going to move this over to the stove, and we can see what putting a gravy together is going to be like. It's really simple, but like deceptively so. You can fuck it up really easily. So we're going to see how it goes. Because here's the thing, is you can either be a lazy fuck. You can be a lazy asshole and use brown gravy. Which I absolutely will do if this gravy doesn't work out well. So you can do that, or you can make your own gravy. I like trying to make my own, and if it doesn't work, that's why I have the packet. So, let's get to it. Alrighty, so we have our bacon fat right here, doing great, chilling out. I am bringing it to temperature, so that way it can kind of come up, get a little bit warm, so that way we can then add our flour. So flour is important because that is the second part of the roux, fat and flour. So again, using kind of equal portions. I have no idea exactly how much bacon fat is in here, because it's just, I used 5 pieces of bacon. And so we're going to see what happens. So I'm getting this warmed up. It's pretty loose. Pro tip, one of the ways that you can tell how warm your oil or fat is, it works with olive oil, bacon fat like here. The way that you can tell how warm it is how loose it is. So the fact that this is pretty liquidy. Like you can kind of see. I know I'm first time for everything, guys. So sorry about the shitty footage. So what we're gonna do is, now that this is pretty warm, we're gonna add in our flour. And what you want to do is kind of get it to where it almost is like a paste. Once we get to where it should be, I will let you guys know. But we are adding this in. We're going to see how this goes. We're going to keep adding more. If I have to go get more from the ramekin, I will. But you want this to really get some body to it, because that's going to add that nice body to your gravy. You start with good basics. That's the point here. So I don't really have measurements for anything. I do know that I have 2 tablespoons of flour currently in the little silicone container that I am using. And I think that should be enough to work with all of this bacon fat. We'll see how it goes. If I need to add more, I'll add more. But we're going to add a little bit more flour. We're almost out of flour in the little thing. Oh, see. All right, so this is a good thing to see where it kind of starts to foam up a lot. At least in my opinion, that's a good sign. So I'm going to add the rest in. So you want to let it cook for a second. Reason being is raw flour actually isn't really that great for you. That's one of the reasons why you don't eat like raw batter. Is like, yeah, eggs, salmonella isn't great either. But one of the other things is that even if you were to use like pasteurized eggs in a cookie dough and you're like, oh, well, I want to eat this, raw flour isn't necessarily that great for you either. So it definitely is a thing that you want to cook. And it also kind of helps get rid of like a raw taste that it tends to have. If you don't cook it out enough, it'll end up just kind of tasting not done. It just tastes underdone. It doesn't taste as rich as you really want it to. So we're gonna let this go. I've got it all kind of incorporated in there. You see a couple of little pieces of bacon in there, so that's gonna be great. Alrighty, so a long time ago I looked up a poutine gravy recipe. I don't remember what the exact things in it are. Oh, I just remembered a thing I was supposed to add, because I'm smart. Garlic. I was supposed to add that before I added the flour, because I'm a genius. But you can still add it now. Still works. You just want to add it before you add the liquid. So, added a buttload of garlic. That is 3 chopped cloves of garlic, because Nacho and I like us some garlic, let me tell ya. So we're going to get this going. Gonna get this in here. You can see that it's definitely kind of darkened up a little bit. I'm gonna let it darken a little bit more before we start adding our liquid. So as I was saying before, is a long time ago I looked up a recipe for poutine gravy, and it mentioned using both beef and chicken stock, and I understand that's probably a pain. I understand it's a pain to try and grab both, especially because if you want to have enough, you might grab cartons of each. It's worth it. I promise you it's worth it. So we got this going. That garlic's getting nice and kind of golden in there. A little bit of roasty toasty flavor. I also have a bouillon base I'm going to be adding. I don't know if you guys have seen some of those, like, kind of... Whoop, I knocked the bowl, haha. I don't know if you guys have seen some of those, like, liquid or, like, really thick pasty kind of bouillons. So I'm going to be using one of those. I'm adding a little bit of some beef broth, so that way we can get this kind of going. You see how thick that is? That's what you want to see, where it kind of becomes like this weird pasty... I don't know how to describe it, but this is what you want to see. It's kind of pasty, it's kind of odd, it's just a little bit weird looking, but weird is good. You shouldn't be afraid of weird. So we're going to add a little bit more of this in here. I like to add it really slowly and really incorporate the roux into the liquid as we're going, because you get a really, really, really rich gravy that way. The more you make sure to just kind of incorporate piece by piece, the smoother your gravy is going to be, the more everything's going to kind of come together in a way that's pretty freaking delicious. So we're just going to add more and more of this, kind of whisk it in. So eventually, like right now I'm using beef broth. Eventually we will switch to chicken broth. And one of the big reasons for that is because beef broth actually tends to be really salty. You know, you can get the low sodium beef broth, but it's still going to be pretty salty. So I've kind of been fluctuating with the heat here and there. I started this on a little bit above medium. So that way we can kind of get it going. But the big thing with it though is you really want to adjust the heat as you watch. One of the big things about cooking is that it really is about just kind of being in tune with what it is that your food is doing. I'm going to add a splash more beef broth. And then we're going to move on to the chicken broth here in a sec. So the big thing though is really making sure that you're in tune with how your food's doing. And that's why when it's like, oh, well, exactly how long, you know, do you do this? Or like, one of the big things is how long do you cook this meat for? And chefs will say until it's done. And I know that kind of sounds like a troll answer, but it's really true. Because depending on the cut of meat, depending on how it's cut by itself, like whether it's uniform of a thickness or not, like there are a lot of factors that get in the way of how long it actually takes for something to cook, how much liquid it takes. So it's all very, very flexible. The only place where it's really not is kind of baking, and that is kind of more of a science. Let's say cooking's more of an art, baking's more of a science, but I know I'm gonna get people really arguing with me about that, but that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. All opinions are respected here. So actually I'm pretty excited with how this gravy's coming out. It's coming out a lot better than I expected it to. Because I haven't made a lot of gravies. I'm not like a professional chef or anything. I just really enjoy cooking. I had a job where I did a lot of cooking for a little while, but it was stuff that it was a lot of fast dishes. It was a lot of get stuff on the table kind of stuff. So I really enjoy being able to take the time to do these kinds of things. So I see a little bit of roux up here in this corner. I haven't really been looking a lot. Again, a little bit of wine in. Got some wine. So we're gonna let this go. So really add a little bit of that. I'm gonna add a big chunk of chicken stock now. Reason being is so that way the flavors can kind of reduce down. I can add some salt and pepper. I keep hitting the damn... I have the tripod for the phone sitting on a bowl. So I'm gonna add a buttload of chicken stock here. Not a buttload, but enough. Because you want a thicker gravy, but if you hear that beeping, that's my air fryer going off, that we are done on the fries. I'm going to check on those in a quick sec. But you really do want to add some liquid into here. So that way you really get some reduction going. When your gravy cools, it's going to thicken. So you do want something that looks a little bit more liquidy than you think it needs to be. That's like right in the camera frame. I didn't recognize that until I actually looked. So fries just went off in the air fryer and they are definitely not done. I did an entire bag of frozen fries. I'm probably going to throw a decent bit of them away because I'm extra. So we're going to let this go a little bit. I had some bouillon that I was going to add. I think I mentioned that a second ago. I may or may not add it. It really depends on the flavor. It is the Better Than Bouillon brand. That's what I have in the fridge at the current moment. It is a little bit expensive. You can also just use granulated bouillon if you really want. I don't think there's a roasted garlic flavor, but if you're going to use a granulated bouillon, I definitely would recommend using a beef as opposed to chicken when you're putting stuff in here. Reason being, it's going to give you a better depth of flavor for that beefy flavor. Poutine is a very rich dish, and poutine is a dish that you do want that unctuousness, and I think that the beef kind of lends itself better to that than the chicken. So we're gonna let this reduce. We're gonna let this get super delicious, and then once this is done, at that point it's kind of just assembly, because the fries just kind of go on the bottom. I personally, and I'll explain this a little bit more when we actually plate, I do have a certain way that I like to plate it, but it really is just fries, cheese curds, gravy, and whatever accoutrement you want on the top of there. So we're gonna let this gravy reduce for a little while. I'm gonna salt and pepper it, and we're going to let it get delicious. Alrighty, everyone, hello. We are back, and we are at the final stages of our poutine making. So, I left after letting the poutine gravy go for a minute. I cut away, and I let it go for another little while longer, added a little bit more beef stock to it. There are kind of two trains of thought when it comes to gravy, or just kind of like reducing things in general, or things that tend to come together with a reduction, where it's either you use as little liquid as possible to concentrate the flavor, or you keep using liquid as it burns away to concentrate the flavor. I'm in both camps. So I use as much as I feel is necessary. I know that's totally a cop-out, but I'm going with it. So, fries are done. Got a nice couple shoestring fries. There's a little bit of a debate about what kind of fries you can use. Shoestring, you know, people on whatever side of the debate they're on will say there is no debate. There's the right way and the wrong way. But Nacho and I are a fan of using shoestring. Or just not steak fries. Like, steak fries are too heavy. So my personal thing that I like to do is put a little bit of cheese curds on the bottom first. That way you do get a little bit of that cheesy meltiness. Whoops. Got a runner. That way you do get a little bit of that cheesy meltiness in there, just kind of on the bottom. Because one of the things that's kind of fun about cheese curds is they all tend, since they are abnormally shaped, they do tend to just kind of do their own thing. So some of them will be really melty, some of them won't be, and it's pretty freaking good. So, alright, we're going to add fries. These are fresh out of the air fryer. Oh no,